impact of the pandemic in the classroom really propelled us to use technology in very meaningful and exciting ways. Our children are digital natives, and now technology is everywhere. So we are seeing some wonderful lessons. We are seeing adults become excessively creative in how to use technology. And for the first time, there's a meeting of mind between the children and the adults. We are loving it.
You're listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Oakes. This is our District Talk segment where we interview district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday shine online. Now, let's get back to the interview.
Hi, I'm Gearl Loden. I'm a superintendent in Southwest Missouri. The district that I serve is Nixa. We currently have almost 7,000 students. We have 10 schools and one high school of over 2,000 students.
My name is Miguel Kubes. I'm the superintendent at Delhi Unified, which is a school district located in Merced County in the unincorporated town of Delhi. We have 5 schools, 3 elementaries, 1 high school, 1 middle school, and we serve approximately 2,200 students.
Well, good morning. I'm Dr. Fal Asrani, Superintendent of Marysville Joint Unified School District, a historic community about 35 miles outside Sacramento. We have 24 schools and about 11,000 students serving TK through adult school.
How has the prevalence of technology in the classroom impacted student learning and engagement?
Being an experienced superintendent, I've been able to see the transition from just wanting to have one computer to labs to one-to-one devices. And it is amazing to me that today we have our technology being used and it's behind the scene. We're focusing on instructional delivery, and the tech is a tool that we use that helps us to enhance learning for our children and our adults too.
For starters, the prevalence of technology in the classroom has brought many opportunities. It's allowed for our teachers to be able to find different approaches of providing input for students. Teachers can utilize multimedia that already exists to highlight the lesson and the concepts that they're going to utilize. They can also create their own multimedia to provide different opportunities for students to learn and to be able to access that learning. When it comes to our students, it provides differentiated outputs, and our students are able to demonstrate mastery in a plethora of different ways. We've gone beyond the typical work processing, medium. Now students can use a Jamboard to make their thinking visible. They can utilize Google Sites to put a project together. And in addition to that, it really has provided many different opportunities for students to collaborate while they're in the classroom, but also when they're away from the classroom at home.
For the first time, the impact of the pandemic in the classroom really propelled us to use technology in very meaningful and exciting ways. Our children are digital natives, and now technology is everywhere. So we are seeing some wonderful lessons. We are seeing adults become excessively creative in how to use technology. And for the first time, there's a meeting of mind between the children and the adults. We are loving it.
The next question I have for you is, how can school districts deal with social media issues that may originate on a social media app like TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram in the online world, but then create a very real problem on campuses like yours, maybe that same afternoon or Monday morning when we go back to school? What's your advice for other school districts on how to get ahead of that?
One thing I'd say is first, don't punish all of your children or everyone because of a handful of people that may misuse the social media apps. We have embedded a digital citizenship curriculum in our curriculum K-12, which helps. And then also we have parent education nights. We have different programs, like we have a bullying program that talks about cyberbullying that involves a local mental health agency that partners with us. We have parenting classes. It takes a multitude of resources to educate our children about social media and our families.
Yeah, well, that's a reality that we face all the time. Social media applications and the situations that happen away from school, they trickle into the school. What we do at Delhi Unified, we first and foremost ensure to educate our families. So it's really important for our families to understand, what these social media apps do, what students and their children are exposed to when they're logged on them. We had a situation a couple years back where we had to bring some families and educate them on the fact that your child is legally too young to be on this app. And parents didn't know that. They said, oh, well, the older sibling helped my child get access to this. Now it brings awareness to the fact that we need to be able to monitor that. So I think educating the community is the first piece. The second piece is creating a safe environment to anonymously report inappropriate behavior. We utilize the Stop It app, which is an application that the entire community, not just students and parents, but anyone in the community, can utilize to report anonymous behaviors that are dangerous, whether social emotionally dangerous or physically dangerous. Then aside from education and having that space to report, we got to have responsiveness. We have to make sure that we respond to any inappropriate behaviors. We like to look at it when a student makes a mistake on social media, we look at it as an opportunity to educate them, not just only on the harm that they can cause, but on the harm that they can cause to themselves by using social media inappropriately.
Well, to be honest with you, social media, as much as we like to talk about all the great things happening in our schools and in our community, we're also seeing a lot of students and adults are using social media in a pretty negative way. It's having an impact on students. So in our district, we've redone our student handbook. We started doing training with our parents regarding use of social media. Um, Even digital citizenship now is a required course in our schools, and our students have to sign the acceptable use policy that talks about positive use of social media. We're keeping that in the forefront because we know that as good as social media can be in communicating and celebrating, it also has a very negative impact sometimes when it's misused by our teenagers and adults in the community.
We talked a little bit about social media safety, but let's dive into the positive side of it. Can you provide an example or two of how your students have used their social media in a positive or maybe a productive way that may have benefited themselves or their community?
One case I'll give is just in our athletic program and activities programs, we encourage giving out community service hours, community projects, and we have lots of clubs and a band, choir, theater, the athletic teams that would have community service projects, and they'll promote that. Or if we have a employee that has cancer, you may have students and teachers promoting, helping out the families that are out in our community. We have a lot of people in our community that are good-hearted, and our kids just are showcased as far as how the schools promote giving back to your community.
Yeah, so we've had the general component for starters. Our students have, ASB and certain other clubs have social media apps that are supported through the district to promote the school spirit, the positive interactions, the way that they help one another. But last year specifically, we had one of our high school students that wanted to bring awareness to the destructive attitudes to sexual harassment, and so we collaborated with Merced County to help the students create a video that really talked about how to address these destructive attitudes, how to really understand that you don't have to be a victim in silence. Once that video was created, we utilized social media to promote it. And not only does the video provide that information to students, but it gives them access on how to report anonymously when they see things that are inappropriate, or quite frankly, that if there's something that's even remotely close to a sexual assault. So that was something that brought awareness, and it was student driven. So we were very proud that we were able to create that media, and it's something we can use for years to come.
In our community, we have high needs, and one of the biggest areas of need is wellness. And our students recognize that if they can take control of the optics in the sense of what are they doing to promote wellness? What are the positive things they can do to bring about mental health awareness in the community? So
Mm.
we are one of the very rare communities, I believe maybe one of the first ones, um, definitely in the state of California, but maybe nationally, that we got our entire community, our elected officials, our assemblymen, our congressmen to sign on to a pledge called Say Something, Do Something, which is if you see something, let us know. And what we're seeing is that our students are kind of buying into it, and they too have developed an initiative for leadership and giving back to the community. And any of the service organizations they work with, or anything that they're doing to promote wellness, they're going to talk about that in social media. We've been encouraging that. We believe as school districts, I think most school leaders will talk about that social media can be pretty disheartening for school districts. When something goes bad, people are right on social media. When something is good, nobody's talking about it. So I think it's time for school districts to look at that and use social media to positively promote the work that we are doing, especially student voice in that work that we're doing.
In the age of one-to-one, how are you preparing students for positive technology use, both in the classroom and at home?
We have been a one-to-one school district for almost 10 years. And during that process, we've made slight adjustments along the way as we've learned from feedback from our parents and our children and teachers. For example, even though we've been a one-to-one district, originally our K through 2 schools had their Chromebooks carted, so they were on a carts and charged and stayed at school. And then K through 6, now because of feedback from parents and our teachers, we have our Chromebooks carted on carts in K through 6. They only go home whenever the teachers have assignments where they need to send them home. And then also originally our limits were too early at night, more like 8 p.m. But during the ball season, when your junior high kids are playing ball and you have community activities, now we've extended our limits to later at night just to accommodate our parents. So we're trying to adjust the times on our one-to-one devices, but they have been great as far as being able to flip your classrooms where you can have a lot of the activities at home, and then you can come back and have more authentic dialogue with the teacher as a facilitator during the day.
The way that we look at technology, we look at it like any educational tool. If you give a student a book, but you're not engaging them in rigorous opportunities to really grapple with that book, what are you going to do with that book? You might throw it around, you might write in it. So the first step with technology is providing opportunities for students to really engage and once again, demonstrate their mastery through it so that they can see that the technology is not a toy. It's something that helps you express yourself, express your learning. So we make sure that we provide those opportunities in the classrooms for students. Secondly, we educate them on appropriate use and what is inappropriate use. We do have ways to block certain content, to block certain sites. Our teachers are constantly reporting to us if we find that students get an opportunity to access something that they shouldn't. As you know, our kids are very savvy, so we're always playing a little bit of catch up on that, but the responsiveness is key. And then we also model with them. When teachers utilize interactive pedagogical tools to educate students, it gives them access to be able to learn the kids themselves how to use those tools. And lastly, we make sure to respond that when a child is using technology inappropriately, we once again use it as an opportunity to educate them on the harm they're causing to others and the harm they're causing to themselves.
I think the most important part that we can do right now is show students the impact of negative use of social media. Sometimes students forget that when you make a comment or you just get onto a thread and you add comments thinking the person on the other end isn't going to know about it, students don't really realize the impact it's having on the well-being of the person in the receiving end. We are unfortunately one of the school districts that had a loss of a student this past spring, and it just completely traumatized the community. And a lot of the comments came out were how she was possibly not being treated kindly by her friends. So I think our work with students is to make sure that students really understand the responsibility of using technology and media in a positive way. And so we have what we call in our district the digital responsibility document. All students have to complete, all parents have to complete. The other thing that we did, which is pretty interesting, sounds a little backward, but we had to do it. We stopped in classrooms, we stopped the use of cell phones. Because what we saw was that in today's access to media, the disruptions in the classroom and in teaching and learning is stemming from this media usage inappropriately. So our teachers and our administrators came together and said, during the learning time, unless we're using technology like cell phones, I'm talking about cell phones, not about laptops, in a responsible manner, we're not going to use it at all. And so it is interesting to see that over the years, as cell phones and individual media became useful in the classroom, now after the pandemic, it's taken a whole different turn. And so in the classrooms, using technology, we have everything in laptops. We have no physical textbooks. Very few classrooms have textbooks. So we use technology all the time. But the responsible use of social media is kind of taking on a very different stance in this part of California, and especially in our school district.
Thanks for listening to our smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Oakes. This was our District Talk segment where we interview school district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday launch into their future by shining online. This episode was brought to you by our smartsocial.com VIP program. It's called the Very Informed Parent Program, which helps you engage your students with teen-led video lessons. Stay one step ahead with our premium parent newsletter and discover hidden features on trending apps on teens' phones and our 54 plus live parent and student-friendly events every single year. You can click on the link below to chat with one of our team members if you want a free pass to our VIP program to support your community with our smartsocial.com resources. And if you're a district leader who has a success story, we would love to feature you on a future episode. You can click the links below to reach out. Thanks so much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Have a great day.